TK and Drinks. We've got another Inside the Mead Makers studio coming at you today. And today we are going to be speaking with the cats from Longhouse Mead. Now, that's not to be confused with the cats over at Texas Longhouse Mead. This guy is coming, kind of seemingly out of nowhere to make mead. And I guess he's kind of stirring up a bit of a... We're going to get some questions in with him, how we're going on, get an introduction, and do what we do here on TK and Drinks. Looks like we may be having a bit of technical difficulties, but also be for TK and Drinks. There's never a time when difficulties plague everything I do. We have audio.
Me?
Hello.
Hello.
I can't hear you. I can't scream, but I can certainly hear you in the sounds of nature.
Yeah.
And now I can hear nothing.
Yeah. For some reason, it looks like my camera is not working, so some technical difficulties for sure.
Oh, yeah. My show is with them. That's where I have everyone's.
There we go. Should be able to see me now.
Excellent. There we go.
There we are.
So I appreciate you popping in today, Lucas. Yeah.
Of course. If it's a little laggy, you're coming in pretty broken up, so we'll work with it.
Yeah, it's same on my end. I have internet reception where I'm at. So hopefully we can get a and maybe we're back. With what we got going on down there.
I'm sorry. Back out pretty bad.
Hey, if I'm back, I guess it's better than never, right? All right, so your screen is definitely frozen on my end. This is really unfortunate. I was hoping this would go a little smoother than that.
That's all right.
So why don't you go ahead and give yourself a quick introduction, tell everybody what your name is, who you're with, and a little background about the meadery and whatnot.
All right. So my name is Lucas Ackreman. I am the sole proprietor and owner of Longhouse Meadery here in California. I've kind of started this journey about a little over 3 years ago, and I'm sure, as you know, as some other people know, I've kind of been separated from the whole community, and so me just popping up out of nowhere seems very, I seem to have popped up out of nowhere, but I have been building this for a little bit of time, and a lot of doors have opened down here to where I'm now under a winery as an alternate proprietor, and I am making mead down here in California.
Got you. So how long have you been homebrewing mead then? It's
so
you've been.
Yeah, so I've been doing it for
ahead.
a little over 3 years, just brewing out of my closet, and then it just sort of just built its way from there, and I've just been developing my own flavors and developing my brand on the side as well.
And where did you first get into mead at? You've been making it for 3 years. Were you into it significantly longer than that? I mean, a lot of people, have a friend that puts them onto it. I had one of my friends. I didn't get into this really hardcore till about COVID time. So.
Yeah. So I actually like a lot of people I've come to know who have started drinking mead. They only know about it from a show or from maybe some vague history term, but I actually came across it from the Vikings TV show, and I was like, I need to make that. I gotta try it. So I bought a kit, 1 gallon kit, and I made it, and I just kept making it from there, trying different methods, a lot of trial burns. And
Sure.
then just from there, I was like, kept it a hobby. And then I was like, I'd love to go into this business. And so, you know, not long after that, I, sat down with some friends and we brainstormed some ideas for the name and such. Because I know there's some things around the name where I have a similar name to our Carlos from Texas, and
Yep.
mainly if we go into the how that name was made, I'll get into it, but I'll let you ask the questions.
Well, I mean, to be fair, that was, I had stumbled across you about the same time that people had started hitting me up. Hey, have you seen this guy? Have you seen this guy? And sure, there's a lot of controversy about it, but I wanted to at least give you the opportunity to speak your piece. I feel that there could be some, undue negative, slang or some negative things thrown your way necessarily. So I at least want to give you an opportunity to speak your piece before, everybody go ahead and makes their decisions about, what they're going to think.
Now, I'll just put out, I had a personal conversation with Carlos, and he seems like a really great guy, and I had no idea he existed, and vice versa, So he has been in that community a lot longer, and I've just not been a part of it. And so me coming out of the blue, there's definitely some assumptions to be made. I chose the name Longhouse Meadery because the Longhouse was the center of a Scandinavian village. At least that's where I had taken the derivative name from. That is the place where everybody could join together, have a banquet. That was the meeting place. It was a place of hospitality, a place where everybody could come together and rest. Now, as my branding grew and kind of how I looked into the history of meads and all the different ones that were made and trying out my own deal, I learned about the history that it had with the Greeks and the Romans, the Ethiopians, and just the general Mediterranean and European world stage. And so I then converted, as you can see back here. This man here is a Portuguese merchantman who traveled the world, and they were known for it. So I wanted to kind of keep my root name, which is what kind of started it all, but I wanted to show that, my branding grew past that and kind of what I'm shooting for when it comes to my company, which is that I want to be able to, take into consideration all of the different cultures and the ethics that came with mead.
Sure. And Vikings aren't even the only culture to use longhouses. Native Americans in the Pacific Northwest have been using longhouses arguably as long, if not longer. It's the same thing. It's like the pub of the community. People, depending on what communities are, people could potentially live there. You got the giant fire pit in the middle. It's a whole communal thing. And it's a natural draw, I believe, to get to that conclusion, especially if you're trying to embody that embodiment of hospitality and warmth, and you want to bring that all in. I think a lot of people have the issue with it seems like you didn't do any due diligence necessarily. Did you Google up the name or anything like that? Was there any? You said market. Is there a marketing team that you worked with? I couldn't quite understand what you were saying at that point. I apologize.
No. So it's just me. It was just me and my wife that do this. And at the time when I had looked it up, I didn't do much more research into it, but all I had seen was the name, a Facebook group, and a YouTube channel. But I didn't do much digging past that point. And so I stuck with it. Now our branding is completely different. The way that my branding all works and all of that, my look, kind of the whole background behind it is different than his, and so I don't see it much in terms of clashing there, because in the end I'm making my product and he's making his, and I wish him the best of luck as he has wished me the best of luck.
Oh, sure, absolutely. I guess it's just more like, are you worried about any the negative connotation that on the social media presence for all this? Do you feel it's going to impact you in any way, shape, or form?
As time goes on, I don't see that there'll be any negative impact from that. To be honest, I wouldn't we're both doing our own thing. He's in Texas, I'm in California. I don't see there being any clash of that nature. Like I said, out of respect, I went ahead and had a personal conversation with Carlos, and we kind of figured things out between each other, and that's really what matters. Is it's between me and between him. I'm not one to try and come at somebody, and it doesn't sound like he's going to be doing that either. And I would more than anything
Carlos
love
is a stand-up guy.
Yeah, and I would love, even at some point, if I could meet the guy or share a drink with him, that would be awesome.
Hey, I definitely think that would be awesome. So now that you're aware of the situation and everything, do you have a plan? I mean, I know there's a lot of people out there hashtag change the name or anything. I'm assuming you don't have any plans to change your name or change your branding or anything like that.
No. Simply because we everything's already in paper. So for a lot of people who don't know kind of the whole scope of what goes into being legal, is once the name's there, it's there. Changing it is quite a hassle, and getting that all changed is really it's really a pain. And we've as both
and expensive.
And I have putting a lot of effort into the branding. It takes a lot to change from that.
Yeah, it does. So one of the other reasons I wanted to talk to you is, because you're still up and coming. And one of the things I wanted, there's a lot of people that are in the same spot that you're at is, they're wanting to convert that, make a change from home brewer maker to commercial. The part that you're at now, you've got a space, you're co-brewing with, or not co-brewing, or how is that working? You're working with somebody else's space or something like that?
Yeah, so pretty much how, pardon, what?
I was just saying you're co-brewing, or you're working with somebody else's, or with somebody else out of their spot, like instead of going and getting your own spot, which can be actually a gigantic financial burden. A lot of people, makers choose to co-op with somebody. I'm assuming from what I've read, that's chosen to do as well.
Yeah. So there's a story. There's a story with that. There's a story with all
we're here for
of
the
that
story.
where, yeah. So I had been just making mead on the side, and I was thinking about, turning it into as I am now, and looking into the licensing and all of that, because the licensing is just a small expense, but it seems big. You're a home brewer, you're just doing things at home. Either you're going into debt or you're coming out of pocket. And if you're young like me, I don't exactly have a pocket to come out of. Luckily, a lot of things fell into place to where I could, in fact, take from my own pocket and pretty much buy all my equipment outright, because of these winery owners. So Thief and Barrel is a local custom crush winery here where I live in the Antelope Valley. And my dad, who I pretty much started making mead in his house before I moved out, has kind of helped me kind of guide everything. And so he came across this winery, and he's like, "Hey, we should just go there, talk with them, see what's up, and maybe." So I packed up, went over there, and shared some of my flavors, and they loved it. They were taken aback. They loved the flavor because they've been approached by about 5 other mead makers, and they turned them down as ultimate proprietors, which is what I am. And they loved my flavors. They loved the complex that they had. I'm a very simple brewer. I don't try. I'm only just now getting to the really fancy stuff by trying and making some out of this world, really. We'll just say I'm stuck with the simple, and I perfected the simple till I got to a point where I could be like, yeah, this is a good beverage. I enjoy it. Let's see if other people enjoy it. And from there, they were like, yeah, we'd love to sign you on as an ultimate proprietor. And so as of, I believe, April or about March or April-ish, I started my licensing. That was of this year. So I met them about January, February, and then by March I was putting in for my licensing.
So are you using their tanks and stuff then, or are you buying your own tanks and everything? You're going to be using their nutrients and their yeast, or how's that all working out?
So I pretty much have just like a space, but I provided my own equipment and I provided my own, I sourced my own honey, I sourced my own yeast, everything. I budgeted, and then I was able, because of where I currently work, I was able to take a small personal loan on myself out, and I paid for all of it with my own personal money. But to be honest, if any home brewery gets in with another brewery that's like this, they're treating me very well. I don't pay monthly, I pay by the batch. And
wow.
Yeah, and so I have a pretty good setup there, and as long as I budget it, as I have now, I'm currently brewing. We're about halfway there. My first bottles are set to be ready September 15th to the 22nd, because a couple of them have to age a little bit. But I make stowe meads compared to the great mead, which is common in the mead world.
Okay, so I gotcha. So you're making, I think you said you're making show meads, so they're all traditionals?
I'm making traditional styles. However, I'm making a stowe or a show to where it's the very short turnaround.
Oh, like a session mead, low ABV.
Yeah, yes. It's like a session mead, but my percentages are like a traditional. So I'm resting around 11.5 up to 10 on the average.
Gotcha. And so what you said you source, you have a particular yeast strain that you like to use, or you kind of picking one? Because I saw online that you're doing like a lavender one as well. Are you trying to vary those yeast by style and preference, or how are you doing that?
Yes. So pretty much from the beginning, I kind of fell into using one yeast, and then I split off to trying a different couple. However, the ones that I stuck with, I use Red Star Classique and Red Star Rouge. Those two provide different notes in the end and different finishes, which is what I kind of shoot for, because my brews, I particularly shoot for a very thin mouthfeel while still having that full-bodied flavor of mead.
So do you use like a Opti Red, like any of those body enhancers or anything like that? What's the other one? There's another product out there, not the Opti series.
No, I don't use any additives or any nutrients or anything of that sort. I don't use nitrates. The only additive I use is at the end to cut the yeast, as most homebrews do. If you have potassium sorbate, I use that to cut it, and then I do a cold crash at the end.
Why are you opposed to using nutrients? You said you don't use any nutrients or additives. Is there any particular reason why you don't use nutrients to feed your yeast?
Yeah. So in my method and the way that I do things, the nutrients oftentimes makes it explode. Just because the yeast itself tends to eat pretty strong, and I've never had an issue with my yeast stalling in my years of doing it, and every time I've been able to replicate it. So I haven't been using any nutrients. I did try. I used nutrients once, and then I used nutrients without, and I did a test side by side. And really, the nutrients, especially with the way that I'm brewing, it makes it really hot and really tangy to where it needs to sit for a long amount of time. And because I'm making ones that have such a short turnaround, I can't, I don't use nutrients. Otherwise, it has that really hot taste to it.
what kind of turnaround times are you aiming for, and how big of batches are you making?
Currently, right now, I'm on a 2 BBL system, but I'm making 4 batches of 25 gallons each. So I'm only putting out about 100 gallons. So this is really micro brew. And sorry, what was the other question?
I was asking if you, I'm sorry, I got caught up reading some of the comments down here.
I'm reading them.
How big are your batches, and what's the turnaround time you're looking for?
So I make, right now I'm very micro, so I'm making 4 25-gallon batches, so about 100 gallons total, or 2 BBLs, and then I'm making I'm looking at about 4 to 5 weeks, 6 weeks for the ones that I put on oak.
Okay. Are you canning everything? Are you bottling it? Where do you?
No, it's going into bottles very similar to the one I have here, just like that.
The 750s?
Yeah, 750s.
Gotcha. And so now, I guess one of the things that was kind of also vague from when I was looking at your post, I see you have your license and everything. So are you officially open for business? Can you sell commercially and everything like that? I mean, you're 100% doors are open, so to speak.
Yeah, I'm 100% able to sell and sell commercially, and I can do tastings and all that fun jazz. But I'm just waiting on my product to get here to the point.
Hey, what everybody's got to do. So, have you've been around for a while? Have you entered any competitions? Have you had any feedback from anybody other than friends and family and stuff like that, like constructive, like highly constructive criticism? And what's your thoughts on?
So,
what's your thoughts on the feedback that you've got? Have you added in your flavors from there? Or?
Sorry, you were going in and out pretty bad.
What was the feedback that you got from the competitions? Was it good? Was it negative? Did you have to adjust?
So, I haven't entered any formal competitions as of yet. I plan on entering the Orange County one this year, and maybe the one in San Diego. Okay. I've had a lot of opportunities to pour at the winery for their clientele, and a general basis of the people who live here I have also poured for, and I get feedback from them and adjust as I have been doing that. Before I kind of settled with all my flavors and then started repeating those processes to make sure that I could maintain consistency.
What? Apparently the internet is absolutely killing me, people are saying.
Yeah.
This is brutal. I wish I had better internet connection. I apologize. So you're using 750 bottles. A lot of places choose to do 375 bottles. Any particular reason why you went with the bigger format?
Being able to give people a lot that they can enjoy and get a nice buzz off of, pretty much. Just in general, I've never deviated from that. Eventually, for some of our more special flavors that we have planned, I will be going to the 350s or the 375s. But as of right now, the 750 it's one of the easier ones to get my hands on down here, and it has a really nice look on it, in my opinion. The way that my label's laid out, and the way that it's going to be sitting on the bottle, all the presentation, plus the vibrant colors that I tend to be putting out, all goes very well.
Are you planning on any distribution?
Eventually, I just, as you had asked me in our previous talks, I do have my Vino shipper up. So as soon as I do get product, my Vino shipper will be available, and I'll be putting out advertisements for that if people want to order from across the states.
There you go. Oh, that's always a nice way to go about it. Have you had any other commercial meaderies in the area? Have you been and visited any places? I mean, because you're in like a kind of a hotbed for some really good spots. Yeah,
so I know Lost Cause down there in San Diego, and then I also know Small Batch down there in Temecula. No, I haven't visited them personally. I have visited the Superstition Meadery over there in Arizona and tried their meads. And I've also tried a couple meads while I had taken a trip over in Orlando, Florida. There was a place selling a bunch of different meads, so I got to try a vast variety from there as well.
Yeah, Florida has some good meaderies and stuff. Superstition is not personally my favorite.
No, there's some
I live
that
there
are
in
good.
Arizona.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
There's some that are good,
yeah. I mean,
and others that are like, yeah.
Others that are incredibly overpriced for what you're getting, paying $100 bottle that I've had better $40 bottles for. No, I've had my gripes about Superstition from the jump.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I completely agree with that. Sorry.
Go ahead.
So actually part of one of my deals is that my meads for the most part are going to be more on the affordable end. So I mean, you're buying a 750 on average between $27 and $30 from whatever flavors I'm putting out, and that's at a 750. I know a lot of meaderies who sell the 330 or the 375s at that price, and so not only am I bringing a more affordable drink table, I'm giving people a hopefully good experience in mead as well.
One thing I always ask people who bring up in your what? Go ahead.
In my different pourings, so I recently had, as I had posted on August 12th was my soft opening, and I poured one of the crowd favorites that I've been able to have a lot of constructive criticism on and kind of perfect it. The blueberry melomel that I put out is very well received, and there was actually a couple couples there. There was one homebrew mead maker there. I had a couple couples that went through the country tasting mead, and they provided a huge compliment. So, if the compliments are coming in, then you're doing something right? So, at least from all the wine drinkers and such, the winery owner there, he's been in the industry for 27 years, and he is a sommelier certified, and he, of course, gives me really good criticism on my drinks as well. So when he likes it, I know it's got to be, I got to be doing something right. So.
Right. Sorry, I got sidetracked there. So you haven't been to any of the local meaderies around there. You said a lot of your customers are wine drinkers. Do you feel that might be an issue if you're entering like mead competitions? Your stuff is more like, how do you feel like? Where do you enter into that category at? Are you on the sweet side? Are you on the
Okay, so I kind of tend to be more on the sweet side. I kind of tend to be more about on the sweet side of things, and a couple of them. So the ones that I'm starting with is I'm making a classic mead, and then I'm making blueberry melomel with a lavender and then a lavender methicillin. And there are ones
blueberry
that I make that do come out a little
solid lavender.
No, just a blueberry and then a lavender. So they're all separate, those three.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So generally
specific criticism you had. I guess where do you feel is the point that you've grown the most through these criticisms? I mean, if you're wine drinker bunch, where do you feel that you've grown the most through that critique?
Pardon, you're gonna have to repeat that. You were coming in pretty garbled.
So wine drinkers are a pretty specific type of people. Where do you feel that you've you learned from those people? What do you feel that you've improved on from that criticism?
So from there, it's more of how I've been presenting it. So a lot of my drinks, like I said, they're on the sweeter side, but that's because mead is sweet. In and of itself, it's not an overly dessert beverage. I don't try to cover anything in my drinks by over sweetening. I never back sweeten for the most part. I back sweetened in my like getting my recipes together, but none of my drinks are back sweetened. My blueberry has
Why not?
really, huh?
If you're making
Why not?
sweet meat, if you're making sweet mead, you're not back sweetening. What are you target fermenting then? So you start at like 1100 and you do the math and you're going to finish at like 1025 or higher?
Um, so typically my blueberries end at 1.006, and they come from like a 1.14.
I'm sorry, you said you started at 1.114 and end at 1.06?
Yeah, so it's a 1.14, just 1.14, and it to take it down to a 1.0.
1.006?
Yeah,
I don't have my
1.006.
Yeah, I don't have my calculator on me, but going from
That's
1140
yeah,
down to 1006, that seems, are these things coming out like 18%?
Well, say, let me grab my paper. It's should be sitting at, oh, sorry, 1.104. My apologies.
1.1. So you're okay. So you're starting at 11. So you're losing about 100 points a graph. So you're finishing about 14% alcohol.
Yeah, about 13%.
Roughly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, for the most
Gotcha.
part,
Yeah.
sorry, I misunderstood your original question when you were asking if I'm making a sweet mead versus a dry mead. So my meads they don't typically go to the dry end of things, but they're also not at the sweet end of things. I shoot for a very, as thin of a mouthfeel as I can get, with that full body flavor that comes with whatever brew I'm doing. So I'm not trying to go too far to the dry end to where it's too thin. Now you have this dryness and you have to sip on it. Although a couple of them that I have made in the past that I plan on putting out do come out to a nice, they come out to a very nice dryness. So I've made an apricot in the past. I've made a plum in the past that have come out with this really nice dryness on it, and it makes just for an overall great golden flavor. Now I've also made some that are on the sweet side. We have some planned for the Valentine's side of things that are on the sweeter side. They're more of a dessert.
How are you judging what you're calling sweet and dry, might I ask?
Okay. So for I guess more so for the sweet side of things, it means it's got more of that thicker mouthfeel, and it's got a very honey, sugary taste to it. And to answer the one in the comments, thin but full body flavor, yes, this is just a term that I coin for the mouthfeel. Is going to be more enjoyable. It's not going to be as thick, but it's going to have a lot of flavor covering all different sides of the tongue.
I get what you're saying there. I've definitely had some thinner, lighter-bodied meads that are full of flavor, so I don't think something has to be super thick and heavy to have an incredible amount of flavor to it. But I think it just kind of seems contradictory to that person that you'd have like thin and full-bodied are basically like on the same thing. Like it's either thin or it's full-bodied. It's typically not, the same thing. I guess what I was just curious about, do you use any standards like BJCP standard, or do you use any like wine standards for judging? So like when you're taking your readings on your hydrometer, are you saying, okay, I've dropped this many points, I'm sitting at a 1040 on, say, the BJCP scale, that puts me at 25 points above the hot, where the sweet registers. If you're trying to make like a semi-sweet, you have to be at a certain level. I'm just curious if you use any of those standards, or if it's all just kind of like your own personal mouthfeel.
So I get what you're asking. Yeah, so I get what you're asking there. And a lot of the things that we do, I have written down all of my my endpoints and also the notes on that. So I have, if I've gone past it, so I've gone to 0.998 on a blueberry before instead of at the 1.006, and it was dry. It was really, really tart. It was really hard to be able to get anything out of that without letting it sit for a couple months and then hoping that it, turns around. So in my testing, I've gone back and forth till I found kind of like my sweet spot. to where I feel comfortable bringing it to folks, and then from there I get their criticism and their points of view, and then I would go and adjust from there.
Have you had any formal training or read any, like, have you read Ken Schramm's Complete Mead Maker or any of the other mead making books, or followed any recipe books or anything like that?
No, I haven't had any formal training. This is all pretty much shop in it, and pretty much just best shop knowledge on that part. I've just been building my own repertoire of what I know works and what I know doesn't, and then testing stuff on the side. I have read. I've only read, I guess, I have what I started with, which was a little pamphlet that came with my mead kit. And from there, I just, followed those instructions and deviated where I felt I needed to. And then I've, read about history, but I never went out of my way to go and read up on how to. I just figured what worked and what didn't. I found out what didn't work and, what did.
Have you followed any brew tubers or YouTube mead makers or any Facebook groups or anything like that? Trying to get like some collective tribal knowledge or anything like that?
Essentially, in the beginning, I'd look up, what's a safe amount of vanilla to put in if I was adding vanilla to something or something like that, and getting kind of the general consensus from there. But for the most part, no. I kind of kept myself separate from it and just developed my stuff on the side.
Was that intentional? Like you didn't want to be tainted, quote unquote, by somebody else's stuff, or you're trying to just? Was it just something that didn't occur to you?
It did. I guess it could have been. It could have been both. I really didn't feel the need to include myself in the community too much, and then I just liked doing it. So I was like, I wasn't really putting a ton of effort in until probably the last year and a half, 2 years that I really started putting myself into it. And then at that point, I had my established things that I was just really trying to get down to a science. And from there, that's where we grew to where we are now. Now, if the winery hadn't been there, I wouldn't be sitting here in front of you having this conversation. I'd just be waiting again. It's just, waiting to see for the opportunity. It could have been 5 years, could have been 10 years till I put up something. The only reason I'm here in front of you now is because of the opportunity that happened there.
Do you feel like you're striking when the iron's hot, or do you feel like this may have been a bit of a preemptive strike, that they put the cart in front of the horse, so to speak?
I think I'm striking when the iron's hot. I'm really confident with the way that my brews come out and with all of the reception that I've had among both, like I said, both the wine community there. That's their clientele, but I have had a lot of people from the beer drinking community who have really indulged and loved the drink that I put out. And so I've been getting points from both sides of that world.
Do you have a plan on expanding your mead flavor profile, or are you pretty much trying to dial the 4 in that you have and call that good until you get your feet on the ground, so to speak?
Yeah, so I have those 3, 2 of which are workhorse flavors. So the lavender is technically just coming up from a summer flavor that has been requested, very heavily requested, because I had made it as a test batch, and then I had had a lot of folk try it, and they were really, really enjoying that. And so that was requested. The blueberry melomel everybody loved it. I have a lot of folks who were like, they're all over it. And so I made 2 batches of the blueberry, and then 1 batch of the classic, which is also well loved.
Got you.
But I do.
And by classic, again, you mean by classic, you're a traditional, right?
It's just
no adjuncts.
Yeah.
So what made you opt for going a no stabilization route? There's a lot of meaderies that go that route. I'm personally a huge fan of stabilization. I've bought mead from a couple different places and had it explode all over my kitchen. I think the guy put it down kind of funny. He's like, are you concerned about becoming a Ted Kaczynski of mead making using stabilization techniques? I think it's harsh, but he does speak to a point. non-stabilized meads do have a tendency to exceed mead makers that don't even ship during certain times of the year for that reason. Is that a concern of yours?
So I do in fact stabilize to an extent. I introduce potassium sorbate at the end of the brew to stop yeast production, and then I cold crash it after to slow it down and just continue to kill it over a week or two's time. And then from there, I have a stable product that hasn't popped on me. Because originally, as you explained, I had made it, and I've had a lot of meads pop on me. And now, with what I do not have that problem. And I've shipped a mead out to a friend of mine up north, and they came fine, and they didn't pop in their travel as well.
Well, that's good to hear that at least you've got it somewhat figured out. Man, it just, personally, that scares the absolute bejesus out of me. But, so for some reason, everybody's concerned. Is there a root beer mead in the future in the plans? I don't know. Is that like a new thing, like root beer meads?
I don't know if they're asking you or they're asking me.
Yeah, I don't know. Is the root beer mead though? Is that in the works?
Probably not.
Do you like root beer?
I do. I do like root beer. But I kind of like the craft version of root beer if I can, so like a Virgil's or something like that.
Oh, see, I'm a Barks guy myself. I like to have the, I'm a sucker. And like old marketing and stuff like that. Virgil's. I'm not sure I've ever had a Virgil's, but I have to go out and give it a try. I'm assuming you said craft, so it's like in a bottle in like a 4-pack at the store.
Yeah. So it's but I also do like, of course, an IBC beer or cream soda, of course.
The only one I can't do is Dad's root beer. That stuff tastes like trash to me.
Yeah, I don't
root
like
beer, my ass.
It's a little too easy.
Do you have plans on trying more mead from commercial mead makers in the future? Or is it something like you're just in your world doing your thing and you're not really concerned about the outside world, so to speak?
So I really, one of my biggest things is I really do enjoy going to other mead makers and talking to them, and then hanging out and having probably not even a comparison, but more of a trade. I like being able to drink what they have and then drink what I have and talk back and forth. Really, I don't go out of my way to drink others' meads unless I really go, oh yeah, that looks really cool. I've been following the project and I'm going, hey, they're finally out. I'd like to buy a bottle. But for the most part, no, I don't like trying other people's meads. I'm just kind of in my own thing, making my own. And if the people receive it, they receive it. If they don't, I move to something else.
Have you been part of a homebrew club or anything like that?
Nope, just me.
Just flying solo from the beginning.
Yeah.
So how much, I'm not sure how much it sounds like you're not really huge on like the mead, I say underground, but like the mead social media scene. There's a significant amount of meaderies right now. Some places have been open for a number. There have been some like kind of foundation pillars in the mead community, and these places are closing their doors due to like lack of business and other kind of out of their control things. But are you concerned about opening up scene in the time when some big closures happen?
I'm sorry, you're freaking out pretty bad. Did you ask?
There's mead, so there's a lot of big meaderies closing down. Are you worried about opening up in the time when there's some like pillars in the community that are closing their doors?
No. Like I said before, I haven't been really involved in the community. So to be honest, I had no idea that other meaderies are closing. I think in the way that I'm doing things, I'm kind of hoping to be opening up to a wider base in the community rather than just like wine folk or a more niche mead community. I'm trying my best to be able to open up to the beer and the wine community. And so we do have some ones that are going to be developed to kind of grab the attention of both. not just
right.
the mead community.
Gotcha. Okay, well that kind of actually lets me segue over into my next set of questions. So I looked up your guys' address. My wife is from Lancaster. She went to I believe it was AB High School, which was like right down the street from where you guys. That she used to walk down Avenue L and on Vision all the time. I mean, she knows the area. What is your clientele? It seems like you're kind of in a more industrial, not even industrial, across the street from a police station. Like, are you concerned about that being an issue for your clientele? I mean, you already so ask about that.
So the winery is across from social services. It's not a police station. It's a social services building. Yeah.
Okay. So, but are you concerned that you're in an area that's not, say, you get a lot of foot traffic, or does the winery get a lot of foot traffic, or is it more like people intentionally going there? Because I know that's a lot of problems that meaderies have that are more areas, get a lot of foot traffic.
So from what I understand, they organize events often.
Okay.
They organize events often to get more foot traffic. So the day that I did my little soft open there, they had organized an event to have catering and food, and it was packed. It was awesome in there. It was super cool. I poured to a lot of people. I got a lot of people who had no idea what mead was, and it was introduced to the first time, and they loved it. And then there was those who knew mead and were like, "Man, this is fantastic. I've only had mead that's this good from like one or two other places." And I was like, "Wow, that's a huge compliment. I'll take it." And then talking to some other folks who don't like it, because it was like, "Oh, I don't like it unless it's super, super sweet." And I'm like, "Well, okay, that's fine." There's going to be the couple that don't like it simply because they have a palate for what they do like or a preference.
I got really. Go ahead.
So, in terms of like what I plan on doing there, so I'm settled there, but because this is more of a production facility for me, and I do plan on doing like some events there to support their place and bring some traffic to their place as I can. But I also plan on going out and being part of we have a very a nice sized farmers market down here that I plan being a part of, and some other events as well as they open it. So we have a couple really big steakhouses that are family owned that we plan on getting into if we can, some Mediterranean places as well.
So you're basically trying to hit up anybody that's already selling wine and being able to. Are these places that Thief and Barrel is selling their stuff at as well? And you're just trying to use your resource that you already have, or are you trying to you go out and get your own type of exposure, so to speak, and not pick the same places that they're at? I'm trying to get a feel for where what type of clientele you're aiming at.
Yeah, so I plan on going out of my way and getting into. We have a local Renaissance fair as well that I plan on getting into. I plan on going out and talking to these restaurants. The winery is not in there. They're only in about, from what I understand, they're only in one other place. So they're in a local brew pub. They keg out to their wine.
Oh.
And so then I plan on just going out to restaurants that it'll go well with their food, and kind of building a relationship with the owners if I can.
Very cool. Have you worked with a chef in the past about any pairings, or do you have any experience with food and mead pairings?
Yes.
I'm a huge fan of that personally. I think mead and food are supposed to be.
Yeah. So my meads in particular go very, very well with meats that are made with more in earthier rubs, or more of that kind of rosemary sort of, I guess, more, what's the word I'm looking for? In general, they don't go very well with like citrusy rubs or citrusy seasonings, but they go well with just a majority of food. Of course, it goes great with chicken, turkey, beef, venison. We've tried it with a majority, a large standing of meats. But it also goes very well with pickled items. So it does tend to go very well with olives and garlic. Stuffed garlic olives, they go very well with.
it would make sense. I mean, if you're making sweet meat, something to counteract that, or juxtapose to that sweeter side, something nice and vinegary and tart. Here's a good question. Yeah, where do you source your honey from? You're doing kind of smaller batches. Are you getting it from these like farmers markets? Do you have like a buddy who owns an apiary? Where are you getting your honey from?
So I got connected. I got connected to a guy who runs a honey delivery business here in the Antelope Valley, named Honey from the Ant Tree, and he goes to the whole Mojave Desert, area to pick up local honey. And so I source it from him in 5-gallon barrels or 5-gallon drums.
5-gallon pails.
Yeah.
And what are you paying for those by the chance? I picked up a 5-gallon pail the other day, and I hit about it was about $2.40. So I mean, it is what it is, but I feel that's fair.
Over here the fair market value is about $5 a pound. So I bought 4 pails for $1,200 or $300 each.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah. That I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do. That seems a bit rough. Have you considered using any honey from outside the AV, or are you specifically trying to source local honey as like part of your business model?
Yeah, as of right now, we're only going to be sourcing local as part of the business model. But then if we do any special ones, we do plan on sourcing it from elsewhere. Got
you. What's your favorite style to make? Are you into like the traditionals only? It sounds like you're doing like a traditional, a mellow, and a methylene. So what's your favorite one to make? Or are you kind of just like, whatever strikes your fancy at the time?
Personally, my favorite is just the traditional. I love the traditional because it has a wide range of just the sweet with the not so sweet parts that come from that, from the pollen in there, and the tannins that come from that. I do just love that.
Speaking of tannins, you said you age some of your stuff on oak. Do you add any like liquid tannin or tea tannins or anything like that to any of your stuff? And what about acidity adjustments? Is that something you're concerned about, or are you pretty much just let it go as it drives out of the gate, so to speak?
So from my own experience, when we put things on oak, we're using oak spirals instead of oak barrels themselves. And the oak's only purpose is to kind of cut the kind of the yeasty aroma that can come off of certain meads, and it's also to kind of level out the different flavor profiles and create a big enough of a difference to where people can taste all of them.
I got you. So you're using spirals because they have more surface space than cubes, and I'm assuming barrels are too fucking expensive.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't have the space for a barrel. I live in an RV full time and travel around the country making mead in like literally a 15-inch cabinet, and it's fucking bananas, to be honest with you. So I definitely get not having the space or money for a barrel.
So to kind of answer some of the questions that are going on in the chat, especially from one individual, I don't try to express myself as one who knows what I'm talking about. I don't try to make it seem like I know what I'm talking about. If I don't, I don't. A lot of my stuff and my terminology is things that I've just kind of put on it. I haven't taken enough time to try and learn certain terminology. I do know some.
Sure.
But a lot of this is almost like your homeschool version of making mead. So all of my product and all the things that I do are from what I've found works, and then I discount the things that don't.
I think what a lot of people are coming from in that instance is, there's such a wide variety of information available to to anybody out there who's looking for it. It just seems kind of odd that you would pull the trigger on making I understand you had this opportunity that presented itself where you had to strike while the iron's hot. It just seems odd that it's, that you're making that big of a jump with what appears to be a lot of, I just call that lack of due diligence. What a lot of people do, seek out this other information and try as many meaderies as they can go and expand their palate as much as possible. I imagine these people are as confused as they are. I guess that's the best way to put it. They're just confused, bewildered by your choices.
Yeah, of course, I see that. I see that, of course. And kind of our at home due diligence, our kind of at home due diligence here is that we made sure that we could replicate the beverage, that we can make sure that it's not going to explode under different heat temperatures and stuff, and all of that. We've done our homework here at home. Yes, I didn't go online. I didn't go and look up all of these, all these different things. These are things that I know that I will learn as time goes on, especially being in the environment that I am. However, where I'm at right now, with the winery, I have their support and I have the support of the community here. And so from there, we'll grow and we'll see. I put myself in a position to where I'm able to grow slowly, that I can. If I need to, I can take a hit and be okay. Because I didn't take that huge leap, that I didn't oust myself with a loan or anything. This is all my personal funds that I put into it, and I'm at a place where I don't pay monthly or anything like that. So I'm able to learn as I go if need be. But currently where I'm at with my flavors and with the reception that I've had, I feel that I'll be just fine.
Hey, your confidence in your product speaks volumes, and that's what really counts. We got a lot of questions here about concerning stabilization. I think we've already discussed that. You're confident in your stabilization between using the sorbates and the cold crashing to get it out there. I understand that's a legitimate concern for a lot of people. Unfortunately, if you don't want, there's many commercial mead makers that have been out here much longer than this cat, who are selling meads that are not stabilized, that aren't having any problems. So I feel like that question's kind of like beating a dead horse.
So like I said, you're kind of going to be our first test with that in terms of cross state. I've gone north. I've sent it up north about 9 hours in the summer, and they didn't pop.
Sure.
That was on ground.
I just had one show up today from New York, and it's about 97 degrees where I'm at, and that bottle was uncomfortably hot when it showed up here. And this is not just true to you, this is true to anybody. I'm a huge fan. I know there's a lot of people out there that are quote unquote chemicals in their mead. I'm all about potassium sorbates, metabisulfites, bentonite in my mead. I'm all about all that type of stuff. And I understand that's a personal preference, not just from you. I've been told by many successful mead makers from different countries that's, it's a personal preference and everything. So it is what it is. But I understand, you got to do what you got to do to make your mead the way you want to make it. I would really, if you're open to some constructive criticism, I would highly recommend finding some sort of standard, either BJCP standard or some sort of other wine standard. So when you're measuring your mead, you have something to consistently go against, just to know what those numbers are meaning. I think it would really benefit you in the long run. As far as, you've already created, by your own admission, a repeatable product as far as flavor and consistency wise. I think that would really benefit you and really help add to your ability to make a quality final end product.
All right, yeah, I'll take that. By that standard, are you what are you referring to exactly?
So I'm a BJCP certified judge. So there's a different organizations that have standards for judging meads for competition purposes. For basically, it's like not quite as intense as somebody like a sommelier. But it for lack of a better term, let's use that as a comparison. So, people, you send your competitions off to judge, send your meads off to competition. Somebody who has my same credentials would be judging your mead against a set of standards that say, okay, so if you're entering a, say your blueberry mellow, they want to make sure that you're entering it into the proper category. They're going to ask you what that gravity is. And if you enter it in, say, at a at a 1040 and you say it's a semi-sweet, because just because the number says it's sweet, your perceived sweetness may be a lower character than what the number reads. Like I have a sweet mead that I just released. By the numbers, it's at 1090 at the final. When I push it out into the bottles, it was at 1090. This thing does not drink like that. This thing drinks like something that's more like a 1025, 1030 at the best, because it's an apricot one that was with almonds, and it is so tart and puckering on the backside that it cuts through all that sweetness. So you can't even tell it's a 1090.
Yeah.
Same thing like with your adding with your oak, when you're oak aging, you're adding those tannins, like you said, to help counteract that sweetness profile. Those tannins are going to cut that. Especially on the back of the palate, you're going to have that nice drier finish. It's nice to have that sweet up front and then counter juxtapose with that sweet, or with that dry finish. So I would highly recommend looking into some standards organizations, be it BJCP, be it something else. Otherwise, there's a place out there called the Mead Institute. They just started up within the past year. They have their own set of regulations. They are more wine-based. They include a lot of sommeliers and wine industry people in their category. So they're just getting off the ground. So maybe check those guys out. But ultimately, what is going to benefit you the most is getting constructive criticism from people who are in the mead industry. You know, if you have a lot of wine drinkers drinking your stuff, I applaud that, because that is an incredibly tough thing to do, and especially if they're giving you anything relative to positive feedback. I distributed mead for about 2 years, and getting anything close to a wine drinker to give you anything close to positive feedback on something that is not 990 is incredibly tough. So I have to applaud you if that is the case for you, my man.
I had a lot of folks who were trying to, at the soft open, they were trying to buy bottles off of me, but unfortunately, of course, I didn't have a product, and I was like, oh, I'm sorry, guys, I can't do that just yet. Now, in terms of the standard, I do follow the final gravity standard in terms of, you know, like the 1006. It was just during that time I didn't exactly hear you. You were coming in pretty garbled. But
sure.
For my starting,
absolutely, I understand.
So per my starting gravity, final gravity, and stuff like that, I do have those numbers, and I do understand what you mean by going to the chart and being able to correctly categorize my beverage. I thank you for that. That was wonderful advice.
Why couldn't have been this clear the whole time? This is perfect, man.
I know, yeah, it's perfect. I can see you great. I can hear you great. This is great.
All right, scratch all that. We'll start over. Hey, my name is TK. Welcome to TK and Drinks. We're going to be
Oh, I love it.
Well, I do appreciate you tonight, man. You've been a great sport. You know, I wanted to get, like I said initially, if you may not have heard me or not, I want to at least give you an opportunity to, you know, put your thoughts and opinions out there. There's a lot of people that, you know, have opinions one way or the other, and I just wanted you, like I said, to give you opportunity to speak your piece.
Thank you very much. I really appreciated it. Is there anything else?
Yeah. If you got a couple minutes, I got some rapid fire questions. I'd definitely like to.
Plenty.
All right. So every time I end up one of these interviews, I have some rapid fire questions just to kind of get to know you more as a person. What's the first thing you do in the morning when you get up?
Go back to sleep.
Now you sound like my wife. You don't get up for nothing. Hot or cold?
Hot or cold? I'm more of cold.
Toilet paper, hang over the front or drape under the back?
Oh, over the front.
You know what, yo? So I don't really appreciate these smart-ass comments. I love you, but damn, that's cold-blooded. What's your favorite breakfast cereal?
It's been a long time since I've had cereal, but when I did eat it, it was Honey Nut Cheerios.
How about when you were a kid then? Honey Nut Cheerios?
Yeah.
What was your first car? You seem like a younger cat. You might have just had your first car not too long ago.
My actual first car was a 2002 Ford F-150 Triton.
Well, that's a hell of a fucking truck for the first rig.
A little V8 gas guzzler.
Yeah, no shit. What's your favorite thing to cook if you do some cooking in the kitchen?
I love steak. Just steak. Any steak.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Are you more of a grill guy, or are you more like the pan-sear in the oven guy?
A barbecue, yeah.
Hey, definitely gotta love some barbecue. Burger, pizzas, or tacos?
Oh, that's really hard. I'd have to say pizza.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
If you have any superpower, what would it be?
Wouldn't mind
I'm
some
going with
clairvoyance. I think clairvoyance would be good.
Yeah, clairvoyance would be kind of convenient, especially in when opening a small business,
Yeah.
right? What's your worst job you ever had when you were growing up, or
That's
even
funny.
currently? Maybe mead making's your worst job.
No, I love mead making. Mead making's my passion. And Mr. Carlos, I know, but barbecue just means I use charcoal.
I thought that was aimed at me.
I use charcoal.
I'm from Seattle, man. I don't know shit about barbecue.
I'm grilling. You can grill with charcoal or you can barbecue with charcoal. It doesn't matter. Barbecuing with charcoal or grilling.
Hey,
That'll make you happy.
this guy's from Texas. I don't try to argue with those people about
Oh,
fucking
yeah.
barbecuing and charcoal. They got a whole fucking. I don't even like Texas style barbecue, to be honest with you. But
But
it is what it is.
as you were saying, my worst job. So I'll just put it out there. I'm very young. I just turned 23. I started mead making. When I was 19 years old. Had just turned 19. So pretty young in it.
Yeah.
So I didn't hold very many jobs. My current job, it pays the bills. I'll say that it pays the bills quite nicely, but it is not my favorite. I'm an aerospace mechanic.
I have an aerospace background. I was a quality guy for a number of years in a place here in well, I'm not in Arizona currently, but in Arizona.
Yeah.
You said you're a quality mechanic? Were you like assembling stuff for like Honeywell, or what are you doing?
So I work for Northrop Grumman, and I'm
Northrop. Okay.
Yeah, I'm an aircraft systems mechanic over there.
You were making alcohol before you were 21?
Yeah. So
hey,
I
have to.
Yeah.
It's a brave admission online.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm past the age now, and so I made it. I've never really been one to sit and drink a lot of a beverage. I'm mainly a sipper. I could have a beverage sit in my hand for way too long, from going from cold to not so delicious anymore. So, but mead is one of those things I can really put down.
Is your stuff designed to be drank warm or cool or room temperature or anywhere in between?
So I have a couple of them that are made for both. So I have one that I plan on putting out. I have an apple cinnamon sicer that I plan on putting out around the Thanksgiving, Christmas time. And that one can be drank both warm and cold. And it's quite delicious. In my own
I'm a huge fan of apple ciders, man. Like ciders. Well, I'd say apple ciders. Of course, there's not going to be a cider other than an apple one. Apple cinnamon ciders. Those are my, I'm a huge applesauce junkie and stuff like that. So yeah, I have to admit, that's kind of a brave admission online, saying that you're making mead before you were 19 or before you were 21. But hey, man, you do you.
Yeah.
If you wanted people to know one thing about Longhouse Mead, what is it you want people to know about your brand and your style?
I'm trying to just put out a beverage that everybody can like, for the most part, because I know there's definitely people out there that have their preferences. But when it comes to the process that I've just come to make, and without much input from the internet or much input from anyone in general, and just really going about making a beverage that not only I like, but now a bunch of people like. I'm really, really trying to capture a bigger group of people who are able to enjoy mead, because then not only that, it supports the overall picture of the mead community. I do have a website in the making, Longhouse-Meadery, or longhouse-meadery.com is going to be my website when it is up. I have the domain, and I have somebody who's going to be building my website for me. And when that is up, that'll be put on my page, of course.
And you said you already have a vino shipper, so you have a vino shipper, but you can't. You're not. Do people have a way of? Well, you said you already have any bottles that are going to be available till when? Mm-hmm. September 20 something.
At the very latest, the bottles will be available September 22nd.
Do you have the link to the Vino shipper like on your Instagram page or anything, so people, once those are available, people can buy them?
Yes, I will be adding that. I didn't add it just at first. I didn't want to give anybody any false hope that there was going to be mead available, so I wasn't going to add it until our bottling date. And then once I start putting out that we are bottling and then having some nice pictures in the bottles, that's when the Vino shipper will be linked.
Got you. That's fair. Do you have any plans? You have plans for more local events and stuff? You were saying for more mead tastings at the place at Thief and Barrel, plus some local other industry places, or like restaurants and stuff that serve mead and wine.
Yeah. So there's there's only places that serve wine down here. We don't have any mead out here at all in the AV.
Even other commercial meads from like Superstition or Shrams or anything.
No. So Bevmo, which is pretty much our wine and more down here. Bevmo doesn't. They used to sell the Chaucer mead that everyone knows, but they don't sell it anymore. And the only other mead they sell there is an Irish mead, which is just a Chardonnay that's back sweetened with honey. And I'm like, that's not a real mead. You're not selling mead. So there's no mead in the valley currently.
You can't. Wow, that's really unfortunate. Like all the Bevmos where I was at had at least like, I'd say about 6 different, like, you can't get Dankskmod, the ones in like the ceramic bottles, or like Charm City in the cans or anything.
So when I was first getting into it, and up until like even now, I go in there to look to see if there's anything there, and they never have anything there.
That is bananas. That's incredibly unfortunate. I mean, it's nice that you can just go down, go down to the valley real quick and pick up. Oh, I mean, if you needed to, I highly suggest you. How far is it from where you're at to Anaheim?
That's about 3 hours.
Oh shit! So that's 3 hours to Anaheim.
So it's 3 hours to Temecula, almost 4 hours to San Diego, and about 3 hours, 2.5 to 3 hours from Anaheim.
Oof, man! If you could make it down there to Anaheim and visit Honey Pot Meadery, and then like you said, Lost Cause, or those guys down in Temecula, both Batch. And there's Batch Mead, and there's another meadery called Chubby Cheeks.
Yes,
they're actually in the same building.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're kitty corner. One's on this side and one's on this side of the wall, and they're back to back. So you have to like walk all the way around the building to get in. But Jacob over there at Chubby Cheeks makes some amazing meads as well. And then Danielle and Derek over there at Batch Mead, phenomenal mead makers as well. I mean, he has a lychee mead that is just off the fucking charts. Amazing. So you have some really great meads. I would highly suggest going down and at least seeing what the local competition is, because these guys are going to be trying to, not say steal the dollars out of your mouth, but it's going to be people who you're competing against. So I would, again, highly recommend going down and checking those cats out.
And one thing I know a large part is people say, competition. I enjoy that. I enjoy that is there. However, I do also think that being here, especially when there's a lot of travel through in the Antelope Valley, being able to represent the mead community in a good light, I hope means that these people can go and try those other meads, because I want other meads to succeed as much as me. So I'm hoping that if mine starts blowing up, then that is the case. And then maybe even I'll see you here at a judging competition. Speaking of which, I recently came in touch with a judge certified as yours. He was a brew pub owner here in the Valley, and he is beyond excited for the meadery to open. So he is tentatively waiting for my bottles to be available.
And did you sell out, or not sell out, but did you depleted your stocks at the soft opening? I couldn't tell. I was looking on the social media pages for you and Thief and Barrel. I didn't see any posts like from the event or any reels or anything like that. I was just curious how that event went. It seemed like it was kind of radio silence.
Yeah, if I had some more time during that night, I would have taken a lot more videos. I was back and forth busy from table to table to table to table. I went in, so we were only doing pourings because at the time I didn't have bottles for sale. Otherwise, the minute I poured my first one, all my others would have been gone. I had people asking if they could. I was pouring like little 2-3 ounces of my blueberry melomel, which I happened to have at the time because I was confirming my my ABVs across the board for my labeling. And so I happened to have a gallon on hand. My my pink slip came in for my ABC, and then the winery owners were like, "We need to have an event. Are you down for that?" And I was like, "Yeah, I have stuff." They're like, "How does August 12th work?" And I was like, "All right, perfect." Yeah, they're like, "We have food, so people are going to come for the food. Then they get to try the mead." The food was all like soul food, so it was all perfect. It was all meats and mac and cheese and stuff like that. All the things that go great with mead in terms of the meat side of things. So they had brisket, chicken, barbecue chicken, and a large selection of other things.
Man, that seems like a fairly successful event. If you're not having time to take any pictures or anything like that, that's awesome. You said again, I apologize because we were cutting out earlier. You said your wife is in this with you as well?
Yeah. So my wife has been supporting me through the entirety of the deal. Back when we were dating to engaged to married. She's been supporting me, and now that I'm actually up officially, she's in there brewing with me.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. She's down there getting her hands sticky, so to speak. I hate I hate that. Ooh, that's a good question. What are you using for your pounds of fruit per gallon? So you're saying you're working with 25-gallon batches. So how many pounds are going into your 25-gallon batch of blueberry?
6.
That's not very many at all.
No, it's not. And there's a reason for that. And when you get a chance to taste the blueberry, you will see that reason.
I would prefer to hear the reason out of your mouth now.
Okay, so we have a very specific method of leaching the flavor. Our blueberries do not stay during the fermentation process.
You only put them in secondary?
No.
Or they go into fermentary, but you take them out? Now I'm interested.
Our flavors are leached during the must, the making of the must. And so
it's all in primary. You don't add any fruit in secondary?
Nope.
Or post?
Nope.
Interesting.
So
okay.
Yeah. So there's certain reasons for all of that. Those reasons mainly being that we don't. I don't put sulfites in my stuff as well. So not only on top of that, I don't put sulfites in any of my drinks because some people have a pretty bad allergic reaction to it, and then they get all flushed and they can't really enjoy the beverage.
I don't consider those people actual wine drinkers, man. There's so many of those people that say that, like, will eat like sausage and salami and things that have like 10 times the amount of sulfites or 100 times the amount of sulfites. Like, I shut those people down straight away. When I was distributing meat, I had to no, that's not true. Like that bologna sandwich you had for lunch blew those sulfites out of that meat out of the water.
Yeah. And I, of course, I get that. The main people who have said that tend to have they're very sensitive to the sulfites, and they can't even eat those sulfite other foods as well, which is a big part of it. We tend to just not, because out of all the times that I've ever brewed, I've never had an infection in my meads, which I know is very hard to believe, but I've never had any infections in my due process, and everything that I do in the way that I create my flavors makes that even more so. So I know people are asking, how do you extract the flavor? There is some certain things that I unfortunately I do gatekeep a little bit, just because of the method that I use to get it and create a very drinkable and also flavor-filled beverage. So when you have the blueberry, you'll understand.
What's this flavor right back here? This one you got back behind you. What's that flavor?
This is a personal batch from my father. This is a golden plum mead.
Oh,
yeah,
plum mead.
Yeah,
okay.
And that is one of our favorites.
Is that something you plan on taking commercial?
Yes. So when that goes commercial, another thing we strive for, except for the blueberry, is we like to put all our fruit flavors out in season. So I'm buying them from local farmers, from local people who are just growing them in their backyard, and I'm getting them at a wholesale price. And that means the fruit itself is not it's not going to be, you know, your normal store-bought fruit. And it's not only local fruit, but it's going to have this, you know, really different flavor that you're going to find different from what you find in the stores.
That's understandable. Have you had any super heavy berry bombs? Like, what's your favorite commercial mead that you've had from somebody else?
So when I went to Orlando, Florida, I happened upon a bottle of the 12-month aged traditional from Superstition Meadery, and that one was aged on bourbon barrels. And I tasted it, and I was like, man, this is really nice. I liked it, but then I went there in person and I tasted it, and it was awful. So I was like, oh, I don't know. I didn't like that too much. Then I tried a couple others, like an apple pie crumble mead, and it tasted pretty good. It tasted like I had an apple pie in my mouth. It was really good. I don't remember the brand of that one, but it was pretty fun. Came in little 350 or 375 beer bottles with a crown cap on there. Had some really cool fantasy label on it. Super cool brand for the meads that I have. And then those home brewer meads that I've had over my short time of making mead, I've had some people come and bring me some meads to try, and I was just like, ooh, yeah, that could use some work.
Yeah, a lot of home brewers are, you know, I actually have to say the homebrew community has really stepped up their game, at least since I've been in the game, and having tasted some homebrews when I'm judging at competitions and talking to other judges and stuff, that the homebrew community is significantly stronger than they have been in years prior. Yeah. So if you're getting, you know, bunk ones from those guys or whatever, it's man, that's unfortunate. Where do you have a 5-year plan? Do you eventually plan on having your own space, or is it plan to just kind of hang out with these cats and basically ride the wave until you can't?
So I plan on being with them as long as is necessary until I simply can't grow anymore. So my plan is to keep putting myself out there to where I'm pretty much selling out. And once I get to that point, I'm just having to brew all the time. Up my setup to maybe a 3 BBL system, then a 4, then a 5, up to a 7 BBL. If I can get to 7, then that would be fantastic. And then from there, look into getting my own place. I do look into getting my own tap room and my own tasting bar here in the Valley.
That's where you're at. That's hometown. That's where we're going to be, and you're going to be the first AV meadery, and you're going to succeed come hell or high water.
Yeah.
Hey, man, I appreciate the attitude, and like I said, I appreciate you giving me your time today. You put up with a plethora of questions, and you pretty much, you know, answered everything and defended yourself the best that you could. I wish you the best of luck in the community, man, and I look forward to trying some of your meat in the future. If I make it to the area, you can believe I'll stop by. I'd love to see you guys over at the Thief and Barrel and, you know, support you guys the best I can. Says, do you have plans on financing for special equipment? That is a solid question. Yeah. Going back to the smaller meaderies, you said you kind of had to come out of pocket and take out a small personal loan. There are meaderies out there that have put 6 figures, the first digit not being a 1, into their meaderies. Is that something that you're trying to get at that, you know, that size eventually? Or you're just going to kind of play it by ear, so to speak?
So eventually, as of right now, so the personal loan I took is where it's not from a bank or anything. I took it out of my own financial savings that I have.
Right, basically, I do like a loan from your business where they're deducting the money out of your paycheck.
So pretty much, I'm currently not going to be taking a salary until I can get it up to where I can live off of 30% of what my business is making. That's the kind of the average business normal, which is about 30 to 33% of whatever your gross is or your net is. If you can live off of it, then take it, and then that'll be your job. But I don't plan on being able to take any out until it can replace my current job. In terms of equipment, I plan on just reinvesting every green that I get from my company as of right now. Any net profit that I get is going to be going right back into materials and saving up for, you know, BBL systems, higher functioning brewers and things like that.
Right on. And then one more question. I promise I'll let you go. Just because we got such a good connection right now, I want to clarify some of those questions that I was interested in that we didn't have earlier. So I'd asked you one point, there's a lot of meaderies now that are closing down, some of these bigger meaderies that have been like pillars in the community for a number of years. Like we were talking about going to Florida, there's a place in Tampa, Garagiste. This dude was, I mean, in like the underground mead world was, you know, one of the big guys. Are you concerned about meaderies of substantial size closing and smaller ones as well that have been open for a number of years? Are you concerned about opening in a time when there's this number of meaderies that are closing down due to, I mean, technically it's a variety of reasons, but just in general, are you concerned about opening a meadery in this climate?
No, because the way that I'm currently doing it is there's a huge market for the wine and the beer folk. They're always there. They're always buying something, and they're always drinking. So the way that I'm kind of combating the fact that mead is kind of a niche is to go and cater to those folks. You know, what it is, whether it be their language, how you talk to them, how you present it, how you want them to drink it, versus also with the beer folk, and be like, yeah, you can put it in a 12-ounce or a 16-ounce glass and just throw it back. Yeah, you can do that, or you can just sip on it, whatever you like. Things like that, how you present it, and also how you make your beverage to be presentable to both, I think has a big part to play in that, because mead is very niche. Most people don't even know what it is. And so when you explain what it is, when you try to get on their level of understanding with what mead is, and also how it pertains to the beer and the wine world, and kind of how you can fit yourself into those instead of being completely separate from it, then I feel like you're going to be getting a bigger crowd.
Man, you got answers for all the questions. You're not, you don't seem to be hesitant about anything. You know, like I said initially, there's a lot of people coming out gunning for you because it seems like there was some initial, like I said, I'll just be as blunt as possible. It looked like there was some initial lack of due diligence on your part as possible, name infringements and everything like that. I don't know where legality stands on any of that and whatnot. Like I really don't know. But the meat community is a buzz about you and the name and everything like that. So like I said, I want to at least give you the opportunity to defend yourself, which you have done, I would say, you know, very well. You didn't hesitate or pause. You pretty much have answers for everything. So I wish you the best of luck in your stuff, and I'm dying to try your meats.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to you trying it and giving your honest opinion, because I'd love to hear it from another professional.
Okay, let's see that picture.
Yeah,
See how you grabbed it.
So this, I know it probably is backwards. So that is my logo there at the top with the knots. It's a little cut off by the frame. But my character there is some sort of Portuguese merchantman, and this will not be here in the label. This is a blank spot because my label is going to have sort of like a guillotine look to it. And that's that. I do all my own art as well, so I designed that myself.
That's nice.
And yeah, so also in looking at, like you were saying with Mr. Texas Longhouse Meadery, I know there's a lot of talk about the lack of due diligence now when it comes to starting up a business and things like that. You go and you search up certain things, you make sure that things are open. So like there were some other names I had at one point I looked up, and there was actually, you know, open meaderies and things like that. Like I said before, I hadn't gone and taken a look at this guy, but in the end, me and him had a talk, and we did compare our logos and our labels and all of that stuff, or at least in the essence, the logo. Our branding is completely different. He's got a whole different look to it. His looks great. I love it. I love mine because I have it very simple, keeping with a more Scottish, Irish tradition on there. A whole different font, you know, all the above. And if it's a matter of phonetics, you know, it's a matter of phonetics. We both have different reasons. I'm sure that we chose the Longhouse name, as I explained earlier. And so in the end, I think there is a difference, and in how we do our, you know, how we run our businesses is going to be different. And I really think that I get it. People are going to defend somebody they like versus someone they don't know anything about. I completely
Right.
understand that. And I'm going, you know what? It is what it is. People are going to be the way they're going to be. But
Yeah.
I'm creating my own business, the greatest of success. And I really hope that he takes off over there in Texas.
Well, I think the fact that you stuck around for a 90-minute interview, potentially knowing that there was, going to be sideways questions and stuff coming at you, I think speaks volumes about you, your integrity, and whatnot. After talking to you, I get the feeling this may be just a genuine case of, I don't even know what to call it, but I doubt it was an intentional, negative step. Like it was a stab at this guy.
There was no ill will, no malice towards this individual.
Ill will and malice, those are great words.
Yeah, I didn't know of him personally,
Right.
and then when I did make sure to reach out to him and talk to him personally to make sure that there was nothing between us, because in the end, that's really what matters, is between me and this other fella. And I really hope, eventually maybe I get to meet him in person.
Yeah.
Maybe we can sit down and have a drink with Meads. Maybe not, whatever the case may be.
All that aside, like I said, you and him can work that out. You guys got your own thing. Just as a professional sort of mead judge and somebody who's barely been in the industry but talked to a handful of people, has a sliver of knowledge, I highly recommend getting your stuff out there, get some critiques from some people that are in the industry, just getting your name out there a little bit more in the competition world as well. Get that feedback from people who might not necessarily feel obligated to give you positive feedback. That friends and family feedback, while it's nice and a positive boost for the confidence, doesn't necessarily always do you the justice, that you need. So I would say highly, you're already on that track, it seems like, to go. But hey, man, I'm dying to try your stuff, and I can believe me, I'll be stopping in the next time I'm in town, and everything's rocking and rolling.
All right, yeah. And just to recap on what you were saying, I have more than just friends and family. That was when I was building the stuff. I have had put my stuff out there to a larger crowd of individuals. A lot of the folk from the aviation side of things that are more blue collar, beer drinkers, love the stuff. Then those in the wine world who are part of this, the wineries clientele, a big group of them, a lot of them being previous brew owners or judges themselves, have liked the stuff, and they're looking forward to it too.
Very cool, my brother. And your again name is Lucas. I didn't catch your last name.
Sorry, my name is Lucas Ackreman.
Lucas Ackreman of Longhouse Mead out of Lancaster, California. If you're in the area, stop by Thief and Barrel. Maybe they'll have some stuff. Maybe they won't. Maybe after September would probably be a better bet. But if you're not following this guy, give him a follow already. And I guess if you have any further questions for him, hit him up directly. He seems to be fairly open to answering any questions. So, like I said, I applaud your energy in coming in here tonight. I appreciate you, and I'm looking forward to trying your stuff.
Thank you very much. I really appreciated this interview, and I look forward to it for quite a long time, I'll tell you that. And so I'm glad that we were able to have this conversation, and that you asked some terrific questions, and I hope to see you in the future.
Hey, no problem, my man. Have a great rest of your evening.
You too. All right.
Bye. Well, there we go, everybody. I don't know if we got down to the great root beer debate of 2023. I think that's a bit extreme, but the man's favorite root beer, at least he said, was Virgil's. He proves it appreciates a nice craft root beer, which not my thing, because I'm not really a big root beer guy. I stuck with Barks because it's caffeinated, and I'm kind of a sucker for caffeinated things. But yeah, so again, thank you to Lucas Ackreman over there at Longhouse Mead in Lancaster, California. Next week, I don't have who's on my schedule. I believe it is going to be it's the guy with the Greek name, Lectoria El Fermenteri, something like that. He's out of New York. I will post, obviously, all the pertinence as they come up. If there are any other questions you'd rather shoot to me and have me ask my man that we just spoke to tonight, go ahead and shoot those over. I would gladly communicate with him. Hopefully we got some of this stuff squashed as far as, any sort of negative thing, everything. I'm not the greatest judge of character, but it seems like this cat legitimately came in with this with just, at 23, I made a lot of decisions that I would, change if I was, approaching 43. This very well may just be a case of, for lack of a better term, mistaken identity, lack of due diligence. I mean, whatever you want to call it. But the kid seems genuine in his attempt at doing his thing. He didn't seem like he had any ill will towards Carlos. I don't know who reached out to whom in regarding talking about the name and all that stuff, but they seem like they've got it squashed. So I understand where a lot of people are coming from. It definitely seems like a slight, but I think, unfortunately, for the people that want to harbor more ill will, it's not really the case, man. This kid didn't really do anything negative. He's not out there trying to bamboozle or hornswoggle anybody. It is what it is, unfortunately. So, like I said, shoot me a message, shoot me a comment if you'd like to continue this debate online or anything like that. I always appreciate that type of stuff. And again, thank you to Lucas for coming on and being a fair sport about all this. That was phenomenal. Every Wednesday throughout the rest of the year, we're going to be having one of these, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central. I might not always know who I'm talking to the next week. I have it written down, but usually it's in my calendar on my phone, which I'm using to talk to you guys. No, I appreciate you again. Thanks for coming on and staying on for the comments. Appreciate you. So it is what it is. Everybody out there, as far as the future comments, like I said, I don't have always the best memory of who I'm talking to in the next weeks. But check my stories, check my posts. It should always be in there. Again, thank you, everybody, for being here tonight, especially to Lucas over there at Longhouse Meads. Y'all have a rest your evening. Ditzy Kitty shows up right in 10 seconds from what I'm cutting off. That sucks. Go follow her page and everything. If you're not, Ditzy Kitty Meads and Wines. Go get it. Peace.